What's up, everybody? This is Chris from Chewin the Rag. Before we start the episode, I just wanted to give everybody a heads up. There were some technical difficulties that I've noticed after recording in regards to the sound. I think I salvaged it enough where the episode is, listenable, but I do understand that the quality, it was mostly on my end. I don't know what happened, is not what we are used to with Chewin the Rag. It does sound a little off, but the conversation with Michael was really fun to have for me, and I did not want to scrap the episode. I did not want to have him take time to come back so we could redo it. So what I did was just try to salvage it the best I could and put it together, and I really hope you guys enjoy it. Michael is a great guy, and go look into his other projects that he is going to mention through the episode, as well as Teddy told me to, which is what brought him here to the pod today. Thank you.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Chewin the Rag. Joining me today is a very special guest from the movie Teddy Told Me To. We are sitting down with Michael Shields. How are you doing today, Michael?
Doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you even reaching out to me and put me onto this because I really enjoyed the movie a lot.
Well, thank you. A lot of people seem to enjoy it. It's not the scariest movie ever made, but the word I hear more than anything is fun. It's a fun movie to watch, and it was a hell of a fun movie to make.
And that's the word that came to mind when I watched
Yeah.
it. I mean, I think you saw my review. This was a fun. It reminds you of that old school comedy horror slasher. It's got laughs. It's got a lot of blood. It's got Tom Devlin. It's a really fun movie.
Well, I think Tom had in mind, kind of like a love story to the old movies that really inspired him. And, this is his directorial debut. And so, he started off on, he'd been a makeup artist for years, and he was on the TV show Face Off. And he won the episode where he created Teddy. And so for years, people kept asking him, when are you going to make this movie? When are you going to make this movie? And they, just never, really got around to it or anything. And then I was actually working as a haunt actor in his museum in the haunt attraction. And he had me playing Teddy one year. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, because I knew from watching the show. And so toward the end of the year, he's like, yeah, we're going to be making the Teddy movie. I was like, oh, wow. Can I be in it? He's like, oh, yeah, you are Teddy. And come to find out, they'd actually had a script already ready, and they redid the script just for me to become Teddy. And I was so excited. It's my first a true acting gig ever, and just had an absolute blast making it.
And that was something I wanted to ask you about as well with the acting debut. And you kind of just hit it right there with you being in his haunt and doing that. How did that even come to be where you ended up in his haunt? How did you guys even get in touch originally?
So he opened the Monster Museum, an ode to special effects, especially just the old school kind of special effects. And one year for my wife's birthday, like 6 months after they opened, she goes, I want to go out there and see it. And I'm like, well, cool, because again, we were fans of the show, the TV show. And so we went out there and we went in, and his dad was actually working the front counter that day. And so we got talking to his dad and everything. And he's like, hey, you want to meet Tom? We're like, well, yeah. So he calls Tom and makes him come over to the museum just to meet us. We were nobody at that point, and ended up becoming friends with him, and then started doing the haunt acting every year. And we'd he usually has like a Valentine's dance, where it's zombies and that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So we'd go to those, we just kept going to events, and that all is what led up to the Teddy movie.
That's awesome. Yeah, we were watching, I introduced my wife. I like horror. I'm a horror guy. I got the Creep Show action figure behind me. I got a Pinhead right next to him. And after we watched Teddy Told Me To, I was like, I got to put her onto more of this style. So I put her onto, we were watching The Toxic Avenger classic. And then after that, I was like, why don't we do the Poltergeist? Let's see if you're really ready for And she's just looking at me the whole time, like, what the hell? How old were you when you first watched this?
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, man. I was like, it's a classic movie, and Tom's in that movie as well. And I didn't realize that when I first saw it because I just wasn't as familiar with him. I knew him as a makeup artist and whatnot, of course. And you guys, I might be mistaken on this. Did I see you're working on something else with Tom?
Actually, I've done 4 other movies with him already.
Okay, there was one it started with a C. I don't want to butcher. Was it one that started with a C? There was something. I could look it up. I have it right in front of me, but
Well, we did Las Vegas Frankenstein, and in that one, I'm basically a background character. I'm a cowboy at a party and an audience member during the magic show. And then we did The After Dark, which is a punk rock vampire movie. And that one, I play a bum, in the alleyway. And, I get to wear my Cubs hat for that one. So I'm always happy to, promote my Cubs. And then we did The Nameless. And The Nameless, in that one, I am the father of the killer and I get shot and die. So it's my first time dying on screen, which is kind of cool.
there you go.
And then the last one did was called The Bloody Bluff. And that one's still in post-production and everything, but that's a Bigfoot movie set in like the 1800s. And on that one, I get to be the town drunk. And
There you go.
yeah, I mean, that was a stretch for me to act like a drunk because, I don't drink hardly anything at all anymore, but during college, oh my God, I would just, go crazy. So yeah. And then right now, production on movies have kind of slowed down because we're getting ready for the haunt season and everything.
Yeah, the one I was thinking of, I was way off when I said C. By the way, it was there was you played Gramps in The Nameless, I believe it was. Is that familiar with
Yeah,
you?
Gramps.
Nameless.
Gramps would have been.
Gramps.
I would have been in the Nameless movie, and
That's I don't know why I said C. That's not even close on the album.
yeah, and from my understanding on the Nameless movie, I mean, we got to see a movie, a premiere, and we've got them on compact disc, geez, DVDs, Blu-rays. Yeah, tell how old I am, and then we're waiting for it to be put onto Tubi, and apparently it's probably coming out in October, but we're not sure on that yet. I was actually over at his house a couple weeks ago, and that's what I heard about it. So we'll see.
Okay, I mean that'd be fitting. October would be great,
yeah.
honestly, as far as the time frame goes. I mean,
exactly.
It doesn't get better than that. So, Tubi actually surprised me a lot since you brought it up. This is where you can find Teddy told me to, and I never really thought about Tubi as a platform much, even though it's free. Why not? Wouldn't I? They have a lot of like those classic horrors on there as well. Was that the other movies that you've listed? Are those on there as well that you can remember?
Yeah, the Las Vegas Frankenstein and the After Dark are both on Tubi as well. Like I said,
Put them on the list for tonight.
Nameless we're waiting on, and the Bloody Bluff, like I said, that one's in post-production, so we have no time frame yet on that one. We'll end up having a world premiere, I'm sure, because we usually end up going to the Palms Casino here in Las Vegas, and that's where we do our premieres at, which is kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I've always been a little bit interested just in the behind the scenes and whatnot, especially with horror, with the amount of effects that have to go into that, and just all of that information. That it's crazy to think about how much goes into that. For filming something like Teddy, what's a day? How long are you out there? You play Teddy.
A lot of it, especially the night shots, we would do the haunt during the haunt time, and we usually close about 10 o'clock. And then right after we closed the haunt, we would go into production of the movie. And there were some nights where I was there till 3, 4 in the morning.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
So, and there's so much downtime, you're waiting for the next shot to get rigged and everything. Like one of the very first kills is whenever I kill one of the ladies. I sit there and grab her and I slit her throat. We're setting that up for like 15, 20 minutes, and it literally, a few seconds of shot, and you're just like, and when I slit her throat, he had it rigged up so there's like 5 gallons of blood that spurred out, so boom, it's just so. I had been around some movie sets before. Prior to all this, I used to work at wedding chapels here in Vegas as a wedding photographer.
Oh, okay.
And we would have quite a few movies come through, or productions come through and use our chapel for wedding or for movies. And it just irritated the crap out of me it finally got to the point where my bosses were like, "Yeah, they're having their film crew come in today. You get the day off." I'm like, "Cool," just because there was so much downtime and I couldn't do anything else, And I didn't understand at that point, why do you have to have all this downtime.
Right.
I mean, way back in college, I studied cinema and photography, mainly in photography. And me and a couple friends of ours decided one day, hey, let's make a movie. And all we had was an old VHS recorder, and we had no true structure. It was more or less skits. So, you've seen the Kentucky Fried movie?
No, I don't think I
Okay,
have,
well,
actually.
that one's more or less just little skits, connected into one big movie. And so, like, one of our skits was, we made fun of televangelists. We had, my big part was I was Mr. Sticky Head. And what I had was a black cloth around my head or around my neck. And so all you could see was my head. And, I could take like a bottle cap, put on my forehead, and it would stay and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
my little brother's off camera, and he's the one putting stuff on my head. And another friend of ours is in the background, doing the voiceovers. And it's just, pure stupidity. And then at one point we were like, hey, let's try some stop motion. And we had nothing really to do stop motion with. So we took dinner plates and forks and, just kitchen stuff, and we made them dance around the table. And for a first attempt of trying stop motion, we were like, damn, we're good. So it ended up being like an hour or 2.5 hour epic movie. Nobody except for just friends of ours is the only ones that have ever seen it. It will never be released because it's so bad and so cheesy. You know, it was fun to do, but we didn't have a huge amount of special effects. We had no budget whatsoever. And so, you're talking about setups, it took a little bit to set up and do the stop motion portion. But other than that, it's just, all right, you guys ready? Boom. And that was it. It was one take always and stuff like that. So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
But those like embarrassing, corny, cheesy, those things like that, you always have that sort of like those things seem to stick out more than the other things sometimes on a personal note because you're like, remember we were in college and we did this and you still have the tape. It's like
Well,
that's just your own thing.
Well, I have said for years, if my mom and dad were still alive back in the day, I would have sued them for not getting me a video camera sooner because we were Jackass way before Jackass even was around.
Yeah. Yep.
We would do just the dumbest, stupid things.
And go ahead.
I was going to say, like one day we were playing baseball and the guy hit it over my head, so I take off running after it. And next thing I know, I am inside of somebody's garage, my neighbor's garage. I had run through the wall of the garage, and I almost left a perfect like Wile E. Coyote outline. My arms up trying to catch the ball and everything. And I'm like, man, I wish somebody could have. Everybody that was there saw it, but I was like, God, I wish we would have caught that on camera somehow.
My buddy at work, he says that all the time. He's always like, no, you didn't really have like nowadays. Everybody has their cell phone. You're recording everything. There's a picture of everything. But like back in the day, the amount of nonsense that didn't make film and it's all just story, and the hope people believe you. They're like, I'm telling him, I'm not lying, and it's like you don't think about the things that Jackass, perfect example. These guys were just doing nonsense stunts and it just caught fire.
Oh, yeah.
Why didn't we film it? But it wasn't the same back then. Nowadays you'd be saying that because we all have these cell phones and everything else.
I mean, as a little kid, I remember we had an 8mm, and they would only bust that out for like super special occasions, say like a birthday or a Christmas, and it was such a pain to sit there, and because the lighting was so bad, you had to have this gigantic light thing attachment. And then afterwards, you had to send it out to the processing and, take a couple weeks. And, it was not instant like it is now. So,
no, not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, myself, I'm still young. I'm only 32, but I didn't run around in the late 90s and early 2000s with a phone or camera on me either. We had those little wind-up like cameras that you bring to bring to those events. You'd have that. You'd have an uncle with that thing on his shoulder, like a news reporter, maybe. But for the most part, nobody was really pulling out cell phones or anything until, as far as my friend group goes, probably mid 2000s, between 2005, 2010, maybe.
Yeah,
So anything before that, that's just that's all a theory. It's a story with your buddies. That's about it.
exactly.
But there was something I did want to bring up to you, and I forget what it was, and it's going to drive me insane. But it'll come back. That's unfortunately what Chewin the Rag is. It's a bunch of ranting and rambling until something pops.
Yep.
But so you mentioned the Cubs earlier. Are you from? You mentioned playing baseball, buddy. You mentioned the Cubs. You a big baseball guy?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been a baseball fan ever since I was a little kid. I grew up in southern Illinois in a little town called Mount Vernon. It's about 75 miles east of St. Louis. So the majority of the people around that area were Cardinal fans. Well, I am not a Cardinal fan whatsoever. I'm a Cubs fan, But Chicago was a good 6-hour drive from where I grew up. And so any baseball games, broadcast local would come in from St. Louis. And then whenever I was a young teen or maybe even before teen, PGN, the Superstation came out and they used to play, Cubs games all the time. And so I would just sit there and watch and watch and watch. And, at one point I wanted to be a professional baseball player, but I was just too big and slow. So there was just no way that was going to happen. Plus, I'd already blown out my knees, because I was a catcher. So I'd blown out my knees playing football and baseball and basketball and everything else. So I gave up that dream. I ended up making semi-pro for just a tiny little bit, but not like one season. And I realized, I'm not going to make it. So I just enjoy it now.
Yep. No, I mean, nothing wrong with that. It's just much easier to watch these things now. I got a 5-year-old son who wants to play football.
Yeah.
And I'm out there running plays with him and whatnot. It's like everything I've done in my past seems to creep up on me now.
Yeah. The sheer amount of damage I have done to myself, I am surprised I can walk at all. I've again, just doing stupid things. Ever since I was able to do something stupid, I would do it. I was the guy in the friend group. We dare you to. I was like,
Yep, you won't. That was my favorite. When somebody would say you won't, and it was like, we're going. That's it. That's all I had to hear was, once you tell me I'm not going to do something, then I have to.
Exactly.
I don't know what it is, but you're not going to dare me to do it and then tell everybody I didn't do it. You're going to tell everybody I did do it. I survived. That's what we're going to tell.
Yeah.
What made you, as far as I know you went to college for the cinema and photography or whatnot, what made you pursue that? Was it just the love of film growing up? Or?
Well, I fell in love with photography, and I was in college and I was studying to be an accountant of all things. And I realized there is no way that I could do this job for the rest of my life because I cannot be trapped behind a desk. It would kill me. And this girl I knew sat there and goes, I took this black and white photography class last year and it was so much fun. I was like, oh, cool. I figured I'd just take it. As soon as I started taking it, I was like, I'm switching majors. And I ended up getting my degree in photography. And, I bounced around, a few different places here and there. And I finally came out to Vegas and I worked for Glamour Shots for a while. And then I started working at a wedding chapel. And I've done 30,000 plus weddings.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. And toward the end of doing that, I got so burned out of doing chapel weddings that I finally sit there and said, you know what? I'm going to start my own business and all I'm going to do is outside stuff. And so all I would do is weddings outside. And that would be like at the Valley of Fire, which is a state park. I'd go to the Grand Canyon, Lake Mead, stuff like that. I've been to the Grand Canyon over 300 times and we fly out in helicopters and land down in the bottom of the canyon to do the weddings.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I mean, it's an amazing flight, an amazing trip. And, most people, if they get to see the Grand Canyon once in their life, they're like, wow. I've seen it so many times that I've seen every kind of weather condition you can imagine. I've seen snow on the ground. I've seen thunderstorms. I've seen the 120 degrees. And, I just absolutely love doing that because, the desert out here is absolutely beautiful. Most people don't think, the desert is pretty. It is gorgeous.
Yeah, even hearing you say that, it's like, I'm in New York, so I'm more upstate, more like Capital District, Albany area. But like even hearing you say like snow, I was like, I'm so ignorant. I wouldn't even think that snow was over in that Grand Canyon area. Like to me, I just picture what you mentioned earlier, Wile E. Coyote. I picture him on top of a Grand Canyon falling down. That's what I picture when I think of Bean Grand Canyon.
Usually, like I said, we flew out in helicopters. We had one day where we actually drove the couple out to where they had not built it yet, but where that glass walk is located at.
Okay.
So we did
Yep.
the wedding there, and it actually had snowed the night before and that day. So there's snow on the ground, and I'm standing on the edge of the canyon looking down, and there's a cloud layer below me. And all of a sudden, I realized, oh my God, my shadow is in a rainbow circle in the clouds below me. And it's one of the rarest natural phenomenons there is. So, of course, I took pictures, and I'm like, wow,
Yeah, you have to.
But yeah, it was one of the weirdest, neatest things I've ever seen. Another one.
Now, are you still? Oh, go ahead, please.
Oh, I was going to say another really odd one. Whenever I first started doing the weddings, my very first time going up in a helicopter was doing a wedding on the 4th of July at 9 o'clock out here in Vegas. So I got to see the fireworks from above on the strip below. And with all the smoke and everything, it almost looked like Dante's Inferno. It was just so surreal.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. But again, one of the neatest things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that's something that a lot of people probably won't experience, especially the first, that there's probably a handful of people that have experienced that. But just being able to be a part of that, it's kind of cool because you're a part of somebody else's special day, right? You're doing the photography for these other people. But while doing so, it's also like, I'm a part. This is special for me too, because how many people get to experience this as what it is? So that's really cool. It's a really cool game. It's cool that you got to a point where you said, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this myself. We're going to do it my way. We're going to do outside only.
Yep.
And then you have those experiences. So it's cool when it all works out.
Exactly.
And do you still do photography? Are you still out there
Actually,
taking pictures?
No, I am medically retired. Yeah, a couple years ago, I had a little problem with my feet, and I'm diabetic, so I ended up losing all my toes.
No,
Yeah,
jeez.
yeah, and so I've just got these little nubs left, but hasn't really slowed me down.
No.
I do damn near anything I want, and so I'm good. But
There you go.
yeah, it's just kind of impossible to do a Grand Canyon wedding because the terrain out there is insane. So
Yeah, no, I can imagine. Like I said, that's what I picture. I picture this rough terrain, a bunch of feet on the ground.
yeah.
That's just a New York ignorance, I guess. But the snow and everything else. That was actually a surprise for me to hear that.
Yeah, it doesn't snow very often here, like once every 6, 7 years or so.
Oh, well.
One year we had a decent amount of snow. For you guys it would be nothing. But my son was real young, and I was like, hey, come on, let's go outside, And so we scraped all the snow that we could find off like the picnic table, and we ended up making a snowman for about 8 inches. But I was like, hey, we got to build a snowman, so that's cool.
Exactly. It's not like, like you said, you're from Illinois. It's not like you're not familiar with snow.
Right. And
it's probably for the best that you don't have to deal with that.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I'm here. I do not like the cold. When it's 120 degrees, everybody else is dying. I am absolutely happy.
Nope, not mixed.
It gets below 75. I am freezing. And one other really cool thing about Vegas, if you really need a fix of snow, all you got to drive is about 45 minutes outside of town, and we have Mount Charleston. And there's a ski lodge up there, and it gets a massive amount of snow during the wintertime. In fact, you can see the top of Mount Charleston snow covered from down here in the valley. So if you really need to fix the snow, you can go there. I don't go very often because I don't need that fix.
You need that fix. No, you have your fix. You're good. Yeah, no, I can imagine those. You said for you guys it'd be nothing. No. For you guys, it would be nothing. I have a buddy who lives in Iowa, and I don't want to be Midwest. I'm good with the snow I get here.
Yeah.
I don't want anything to do with the Midwest snow. That's a different animal. The temperatures drop way lower than they do here too.
Oh yeah. Yep. I remember.
I want nothing to do with any of that.
Yeah, I remember a minus 25 day whenever I was a kid growing up. That was brutal.
I want no part of that. I'm good with my little New York winters. Maybe I probably have a better chance going to Vegas with you than I do hanging out in Illinois or Iowa or any of those places. So for Teddy told me to. We were talking about the downtime and whatnot. The cast that Teddy told me to, I think, deserves a lot of recognition as well. I think it was a very fun cast.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was put together very well. Did the downtime, was it better at least because of the people you're working with? Do you get to mingle at all? Do you get to hang out, or is it a lot of kind of you got to keep to yourself, wait until it's your turn and go?
Well, I am really not a people person, and just in general, I'm just not, if I'm in a group of people I don't know, I will not sit there and talk hardly at all. I'm just like, that's my personality. But on the set, I would sit there and just start talking to any random person next to me. And, at one point I'm sitting there talking to this beautiful blonde woman, having a great conversation and, have no idea who she is. And then all of a sudden I realize, oh my God, that's Tabitha Stevens, And I did that with Daisy Ducati. I'm sitting there having a great conversation with her, So every time I'm on set, a lot of the times now it's because we have like a central core group of people who act in these movies. And so,
Yes.
I know these people now and I'm friends with them and everything. But like on Las Vegas Frankenstein, we got to be with Daniel Roebuck. Now, I don't know if you know who Daniel Roebuck is, but for the Terrifier 3, he was the one who played the Santa Claus.
Okay.
And in the Munsters Rob Zombie remake, he's Grandpa Munster.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
See, by name, wouldn't have known. I'm not great with names. I'm not.
Yeah.
I wish I was.
Well, that's why I was sitting there saying what he's in, because most people are like, oh yeah, I know who he is. So yeah, I sit there and talk to him for like 20 minutes. Great guy and everything. Yeah, and so every time that we're going to do a movie, I'm actually really happy because I get to go and actually talk to people, which is really good for me. So I had a lot of fun with
absolutely.
that. And like when we were doing the Teddy movie, there was a scene where everybody's outside at Evil Ned's movie, where he's showing the movie. He's like the movie host, and there's a whole crowd of people there. Well, it was freezing that night. It was windy, it was cold. And so I sit there and pull the star card and I'm going, well, you guys don't need me for a few minutes. I'm going to be sitting inside by the heater while you're all freezing. And so I totally did that. Me and Kamara Cole that played Zoe. She was also inside. It's like, yep, we're just going to stay inside. No, screw this. They'll call us when they need us. And so we'd go out when they needed me, and that was it.
That's really cool to have that camaraderie. Like you said, believe it or not, despite hosting a podcast and I do like these live streams for video games and whatnot, I'm really not much of a talker. In person, I kind of talk well. My wife's like, "Why are you mumbling?" I don't need to. I'm not really a talkative person, so I was curious, and that was the question that, like I said, it'll come to me. It always does. That was the question I really had. Where, what is it like on set during that downtime? Do you get to mingle and have those conversations?
Oh yeah.
Do you say you're pretty introverted, but still get to have those and enjoy them?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I figured that would be the case with that cast, and I was looking through the IMDb stuff because once you put me out to something, then I got to go down a rabbit hole and see who, what else is in. And like you said, there is that core group of people that it looks like the objective was keep them together and let's do some more movies.
Yeah. And, we've got some pretty big names in the movie themselves, Actually, let me put on my glasses and check my little list here so I don't miss anybody. But we got Lisa Wilcox, and she was in Nightmare 4 and 5, The Dream Child. Felicia Rose from Sleepaway Camp. C.J. Graham, he was Friday the 13th, Part 6, and he plays my brother Ron in that one, and Teddy. Warrington Gillette, who was also a Jason Voorhees, he was the one that was unmasked in number 2.
Yep.
Trent Haga, who actually played a younger version of me, which is funny as all get out. When we went to the LA premiere, we finally got to meet, and I'm sitting there, I walk up, I'm like, hey, nice to meet you. He's like, damn, he looks at me. I'm almost a foot taller than him. Not quite, but I mean, I'm a lot taller than him. He's like, yeah, it's like looking into a mirror. I'm like, so, but he was in the Killjoy movies, which is a killer clown movie way before Terrifier. And you got Papa Shango, the wrestler, Tabitha Stevens, and then Drew Marvick, who plays Duke the Chainsaw Clown. He's the director of Pool Party Massacre 1 and 2. The Pool Party Massacre 2 hasn't come out yet. So yeah, I mean, we've got some pretty big names associated with this movie as well, and plus a whole bunch of us, non-names. But for the most part, I think we all did pretty good acting and, pulling this off. And one real interesting fact is when we first started, Tom sat there and said, I'm going to have one major rule on this movie. And the major rule is we will do no more than 3 takes. And so we're like, okay, I swear the majority of what you see is take 1. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really
like
good.
Whenever I take the big sledgehammer and I take Chippy's head off. If you notice that, you got to really pay attention because I swing pretty hard. I actually hit the dummy's shoulder first and then the head because of the force. And he didn't care. That was 1 take. And that was it. And it worked out perfect. And the other thing about that is I actually swung left-handed for that kill. And there's several other kills in the movie where I do it left-handed. So I like saying I think I'm the first ambidextrous killer in history.
You might be.
Yeah, because everybody else, you watch Michael Myers or Freddy or Jason, it's always right-handed. So the left-handed thing, I was like, well, if I get a chance to do it, I'm going to do some of them left-handed because, I can. And so I always like to get that out as a fun little fact because most people would not notice or pay attention. And then once you say it, you're like, damn, he's right. So.
Yeah, what I'm going to do is, like I said, I'm adding the other ones to the list. I'm going to go back and I'm looking. I want to see the shoulder. I want to see it because, again, it's not something you would have noticed. I didn't notice. That was I like that kill a lot. That was one of my favorite kills.
And part of the reason why I hit the shoulder first is because the Teddy mask, my right eye has the button on it, so I can't see out of it at all. And that would have been the eye closest to the...
That would have been. Yep.
And so, whenever I did that swing, I swung, but, I hit that, but I hit it so hard it didn't even matter, Because even in real life, it still would have slipped up and, taken somebody's head off.
Oh, yeah. Regardless, you're still getting... It doesn't matter that the shoulder's there or not, to be honest. Do you have a kill that stands out to you the most?
My absolute favorite one is Charles. Whenever he comes running through and I slide the door open, the Chainsaw Massacre style, grab him. He was actually in the Army during this point, and he's like, yeah, go ahead and do what you got to do. It's not going to hurt me. I'm like, okay. So whenever I grab him and I throw him up against the wall, I grabbed him and threw him up against the wall. And then I take that hammer and just beat the living pulp out of that head. And we actually won Best Kill at the Las Vegas premiere. There was a film festival at that point, and we won Best Kill for that part of the movie. So that was cool. And every time I killed somebody, I would sit there in my head going, okay, if I was really doing this in real life, how would I do it? So like with that hammer, I absolutely just kept swinging over and over at the exact same spot. I did not vary an inch. And that's because in my mind, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going for one spot over and over,
Absolutely.
And every time I did kill somebody, and nobody will ever notice this or see it, but I get this teeniest, tiniest little smile. But with the beard, mustache, mask, and everything, you can't tell.
Yeah, you'll never see it.
I have this little going on. So
my favorite part about that kill specifically is while it was happening, I think after maybe the 5th hit, my wife goes, "Oh, he's still going."
Oh yeah, I've had a couple people.
Still going. It was so good.
Yeah, I've had a couple people complain that lasted way too long.
No,
I don't think so.
No.
But
I don't think so at all. That's the perfect amount. Yeah. Maybe even a little more.
Well, obviously I reached out to you, and I do this all day on TikTok. Anybody who reviews movies, I reach out to them, and I pretty much send the exact same message. All I'm trying to do is get the word out about this movie to as many people as I can.
Absolutely.
I'm proud of it. And so, I've had people review it, and 90% of everybody, really likes it. They say it's a fun movie. Every so often I get somebody who's, oh, it's not for me. I'm like, okay, I have no problem with the bad
That's
review.
fine. Yeah.
But like I said, I've had the hammer kill. I've had a couple people go, I lasted way too long. And the other one that just cracked me up, there's a scene where they're in the room and Teddy's hiding behind a door and they go, who's back there? And I say, Teddy told me to. But I do this really weird high-pitched voice. I go, Teddy told me to. And I had a couple people complain about that. I'm like, what the hell? And again, when we were doing that scene, I sit there and go, okay, Tom, do you want anything specific? He's like, no, do whatever you want to do. I was like, okay. And just for something completely different, I did that voice. Because that voice is creepy as hell, especially when you see it coming out of me. It doesn't look like something I...
Yeah, it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit at all.
Yeah, it doesn't fit at all. And in fact, my sister, she's seen the movie and she's like, I hate that voice. She's like, it creeps me out. I'm like, cool. So every time I talk to her, I'll do that voice for some reason or another.
But you have to now.
Yeah. And again, we did one take on that voice, and Tom was like, all right, cool, I'm happy. So yeah, some people will just, find anything wrong with anything, and I understand that.
Absolutely.
I don't take anything personal. I had one lady the other day sit there and say, she really did not like the movie, blah, blah, blah. But she said, I was by far the best part of the movie as the killer and that I should be working with Rob Zombie. I'm that kind of person. I would absolutely love to work with Rob Zombie. So if anybody knows Rob Zombie out there, let him know about me.
Yeah, you don't have to tell me twice, lady. I don't want that.
I have said that.
Please don't.
Yeah, I have said that way before, this came up. I would love to work with him. And, hell, I'd love to work with anybody. But, I have gotten the acting bug. I have to say that. It's weird. It's nothing I thought I would ever do. Especially growing up as a kid,
Yeah, oh, exactly.
And I've got a taste for it, and I love it.
And it's like yeah, and it's funny like when it hits you too. You know what I mean? Like you're at the stage of your life where you're not a teenager, you're not a 20-year-old person, and it's like I got the acting bug. I want to act now.
Yeah.
Give me roles, give me out there. So that's awesome.
Exactly. I know this is insane, but I would love to play like a corrupt county sheriff in a horror movie, especially if it's like from the South. Because I lived in New Orleans, I've lived in Florida, Georgia, so I've got the Southern accent down. And hell, if they need a Cajun, I can do that. But I think that would be a fun role because I am so not a cop whatsoever. So it'd be something fun to play just completely opposite of me, where Teddy's not too opposite of me. So, I got one friend of mine that sit there and, when this first came out, he was like, man, I'm glad you're doing this because we thought for sure you'd end up killing people in real life. I'm like, damn, dude, I thought you were my friend.
I'm glad you're doing it. I'm glad it's all scripted and you're not out there really doing it because of everybody. You wouldn't surprise me. So you mentioned that Tom was like, oh, just kind of do it. Was there a lot of improv on set that was kind of free and welcome?
Kind of. What would happen is, first off, I never actually saw a true script. Other people got the true script. I would just get like my little lines and this and that. So at first I had no idea what was truly going on. And what would happen is we'd show up for whatever shot and he goes, okay, here's what I want you to do. And that's pretty much it. And at that point, it was up to me to do however I wanted. And so, for example, we were doing the meat room scene where I kill Sin Bodhi, the wrestler, and the Beast. He's the other wrestler. I slice his belly and his head off, and then I go over and I'm going for Sin Bodhi. Now, he told me, okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take the yo-yo, throw it. It's going to wrap around his neck, and then you're going to pull him down. I'm like, okay, that's a lot harder to do than you would think. So that one actually took, I think, 2 tries. We got it in the second try, but before that, whenever I'm killing the Beast, I sit there, I did the slice, and that was, it wasn't exactly scripted. It's just basically, okay, here's what you're going to do. So that was no problem. Again, with whenever I killed Charles with the hammer, we had a basic concept of what was going to happen, but that was it. He came running through, I grab him, I literally throw him and pick him up and onto that wall, and then boom, boom, boom. You don't see the couple guys that end up holding him up, for a minute. Because like I said, when I first picked him up, yeah, I got him up there, but I'm not going to sit there and hold him by his neck that long.
Yeah, you got to sit there and hold him through.
Yeah, because
that's insane.
It's gonna hurt for real. I mean, it hurt him, but it's gonna hurt really bad. But yeah, I mean, we were left to our own kind of devices, but we had a basic idea of what we were doing. Go from there.
No, it's also it's pretty much you just lead you to the path, and it's up to you to take that path. And keep it within the parameters and get it done. So that's really cool. That also doesn't surprise me for him, to be honest. Yeah. Just that really doesn't surprise me to hear at all. So that's really cool that he kind of gave you guys that free range. It was like guided free range. That's all it was.
Yeah, I mean, there were times where we had marks to hit and this and that. Yeah, absolutely. But again, we were not so, micromanaged that you have to do this, you have to breathe like this, blah, blah. No, it was, this is your character. You know what you're doing. Here's what I want you to do, and go from there. And
that's awesome.
Which I think made it a lot easier on us, because if somebody was really trying to, nitpick and sit there and go this and this and this, it would have become stressful.
It would have, absolutely, especially with, you said we don't want to do anything more than, we don't want 3 takes or more than 3 takes. So if he was trying to hit that while also micromanaging, it would have been stressful not only on you guys, but also on him to do that way.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it was approached very well by all parties, really.
Yeah.
But as far as the TikTok thing, so for TikTok for me, I was not really even, I would post like podcast clips and I would just get out of it. I was not trying to use it for anything. And then I started doing, I would list like comedy movies that I liked. And then I did the creep tape things. I think that's probably how I went on your radar, because I posted about the creep tapes. And then soon after I got that DM, which super appreciative, because this is awesome.
Well, thank you.
Was that your idea to just be like, I'm going to get on TikTok and I'm going to try to spread the word through other social media? Or how did that really even hit you to do it that way?
Well, obviously, this is a very low budget movie. We did no advertising really. We had some press, in the very beginning, but that flew under most people's radar. And I got bored one day, and a friend's mine, hey, you should try TikTok. Well, I was like, okay, I'd never done it before. So I play around for a minute, and all of a sudden I realized, hey, there's people doing movie reviews on here. Hey, there's people who do specifically horror movie reviews. What the hell? Let's try it. And at that point, I just sit there and started, trying to get the word out about Teddy and the other movies. And that ended up becoming, really good. And the thing is with the TikTok, there are so many people on there, and there are so many different reviewers. Whereas Facebook, you got a core group of friends, and that's it. You cannot really reach out to, people you don't know. Instagram, I kind of played with for a second, but I got bored with that one quick. So that's why I more or less stayed on the TikTok. And whenever I repost somebody's review, it's more or less the people that follow me see it. I haven't figured out how you get, thousands and thousands of followers. But, at some point, maybe I will, but that's just the purpose right now, is just to get the word out to as many people as possible. I want Teddy to become a cult classic. My ultimate goal is for it to be big enough that I actually can go to a convention, sign autographs. I have never been to a horror convention in my life. I probably will not go unless I am sitting behind the desk, because, again, I'm not a people person. I'm not big into crowds. But if I've got that little barrier, I'd be like, oh, hell yeah. And I don't even want to do it for the money. I just want people to sit there and watch this movie, enjoy it, and sit there and go, oh, my God, you know what movie you should watch tonight? Teddy. I haven't seen it in a while. Oh, it's Halloween time. Teddy's one of the ones that we got to watch for, Halloween spooky season.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
And so that's all I'm trying to do.
And I think you're approaching it the right way as well. I think, like I said, watching Teddy made me want to go back and watch the trauma films, the Kaufman films, because it's all within. You throw that in that rotation with that, you're having a good night. You watch a Poltergeist, you watch a Toxic Avenger, you watch Teddy.
Watch Evil.
You're getting kind of the same.
Throw in a little Evil Bong.
Yeah, a little Evil Bong. But you're getting. I'm actually speaking of, and the one I have not seen yet that I'm excited. I'm going to put this in the rotation tonight as well with the others that you listed. The Cannibal the Musical, the Matt Stone and Trey Parker. I'm going to throw that in. I was like, why have I never? I'm a South Park guy. I'm South Park stuff.
I see Butters back there, so yeah.
Yeah, it's what I mean. Why have I not done this? So it's all going into the rotation, but. I think your approach and how you're looking at it, where you want it to be that cult following, where I want to throw this in the rotation. It's Halloween. Let's watch some comedy. Let's watch some like low budget horror comedy. Yep. I think Teddy will fit right into that. I think it's awesome.
Oh yeah, and as a kid, I would watch the cheesiest, crappiest movies I could, and to this day, I still watch the cheesiest, crappy movie I can. And there's times where my wife will just be like, "Nah, I'm not watching that one." I'm like, "Okay, I'll watch it later."
Yep.
Because I know there's certain stuff I can get away with, and there's certain stuff I can't. So I'm like, "Okay, this one's for me only."
But yep, that's how I knew Poltergeist would get the reaction it did, which is why I was like, "We're throwing this up," because absolutely I knew what the reaction would be to that, and I knew she hasn't seen a lot of the things that I've seen, just because we have very different upbringings.
Oh yeah,
in regards to how we were parented and raised. So it's been cool to kind of revisit this stuff.
Well, whenever I first saw like Plan 9 from Outer Space, I was like, "Oh my God, what is this crap?" And then I watched it again, and I watched it again, and I was like, "This is insane." And Tor Johnson, he cannot act to save his life, but he's like, and I'm just like cracking up.
Yeah.
So I got a VHS copy of it finally, and I would have friends come over and they're like, "What are we gonna do tonight?" I was like, "Oh, I don't know. Let's watch a movie." And I would throw that in and make them watch it, and they're like, "Oh my God!" And it got to a point where people are like, "We're not coming over to watch any more movies because, I'm like, all right, it's your loss. And like my best friend, the second me and him discovered Mystery Science Theater, it was the greatest thing in the world. So we would like wait for it every week, and we were like, okay, what crappy movie are we watching this week? So that was awesome.
But you need those.
Yeah.
You need those movies. You really do. Yeah. They're fun. They're culty. It's like, you need to have those types of movies. Not every movie is going to be a $40 million Marvel's Avenger movie. We need those low budget, fun horrors, those low budget, fun comedies. I think those are important to film culture just as much as those big budget ones, if not more.
I love some of the big budget, like you said, Marvel and big Star Wars fan, but I will not watch a drama. I will not watch a cop movie or cop show unless it's some weird, aspect of it being like a comedy or some horror aspect. I will not watch a lawyer show or movie. I refuse to watch those, just because I know I am not interested whatsoever in that, subject. But if you throw an aspect of sci-fi horror, something bizarre, whatever, I'll give it a chance. But if it's just straight up,
no, not for you. Not a big The Wire fan.
A big what?
The Wire.
Oh, never seen one episode and probably never will.
That's interesting, but it makes sense. It's like, and that's what we're saying. It's not; those aren't going to be for everybody.
Right.
These small budget culty things aren't going to be for everybody. But you need both. I think both are important.
Then
you gotta have both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, and there are people that absolutely love, police dramas, lawyer, doctor, love those things. Good for them. It's just not my cup of tea.
It's not for me. Yeah. No, there's a lot that I haven't seen. I'm actually a terrible show and movie watcher. The amount of things that I haven't seen is. But then I'll throw something out of left field. Like, you've seen that? Yeah. I don't know. I'll randomly pop something in.
Well, I swear to God, at one point, Where I grew up, we did not have 7-Elevens. We had what was called Hucks, like Huckleberry Finn.
Okay.
And
Yep.
they had little video departments. At one point, this one that I used to go to all the time, I had seen damn near I'd seen every single movie they had.
Oh,
And
jeez.
I'm just like, okay, again, where I grew up was a very small town, and stuff that would be happening in LA would take 2 to 3 years for that culture to even come close to hitting us. So I ended up finding friends who had weird tastes, and so, they'd turn me onto a movie, or I'd turn them on to something, or, like punk rock music was not even close to the thing where I grew up. But
Yeah, that
yeah,
makes sense.
but I had a friend of mine who was kind of into it, and so he'd start turning me on to this, and then we'd find bootlegs, And so the more weird and bizarre it was, the more I wanted to listen or watch. And to this day, I'm still like that. I will spend hours on YouTube sometimes just flipping through trying to find some weird random music I've never heard of, and just like, cool, And
Yeah.
sometimes I find something great. Sometimes I find stuff that's just horrible.
Yeah, probably a lot of the horrible, but it's experimentation for a lot of people. It's you're trying to do the weird thing. You try to do something left field. It's not always gonna hit, but then you do discover that thing, and it's like, this is weird.
Yeah.
But this is weirdly good. Like this is great. I can listen to this. I can watch this.
Like, this is bizarre as hell, but there's a punk rock band out of like Norway called the Viagra Boys. And the whole reason I even started on this, guys, I'm flipping through YouTube and they have a still picture of, the music video. And it's a zombie. It's a zombie girl. And I'm like, well, hell, there's a zombie. I got to watch this for a second at least. And I was like, damn, that's not a bad song. So I started just listening to the song after song after song. And I'm like, these guys are friggin' pretty good. Not one song sounds like the next, which, most of the time, if you hear, a band, you can tell instantly, oh, this is blah, blah, blah.
And this is
because they sound the same. These guys, I don't think 2 songs have ever sounded close. And the lead singer is the same guy, and his voice will change for every song. And it's like, wow, that's cool. So I'm happy whenever I find something like that.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna check them as soon as I have this. I'm gonna open up YouTube, which you recommended the YouTube the music video for the Teddy Told Me To song.
Yeah.
The I don't want to butcher the name. What was the name of the band and the song?
Chainsaw Fight.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, they are in the movie as well.
Yes, they are.
But they also, like I said, they do the song cover, Everybody Hunting for the Weekend. And then, they've got quite a few, albums out and stuff like that. And, they're just, some guys that kind of, do their thing. And they're pretty damn good. I like them.
They're again, this word gets thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
But I like fun. That's always the first. Fun for me is number one. Maybe not in everything, but in a lot of things I do. If it's fun, I'm in.
Right.
And they're a band that you can tell they work hard, just like you guys work hard, but you still put out fun.
Yep.
And that to me, like, that's awesome. I'm 100% in on fun. I'm gonna check that band out though as soon as we end. That's not a joke. The Viagra Boys,
Yeah.
I'm checking the Viagra Boys out, which is not a sentence I thought I'd ever say.
I know. And the one song that started it all was Bog Body.
Okay.
Boo, Bog Body. And then there's another one like Punk Rock Hero or something like that. I mean, and their video production quality, you're figuring they put some money and quality into their videos.
Really?
If it's not like a live performance or something like that, that's one thing. But actual production videos, they're entertaining as hell too. So, but the music's pretty good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm looking forward to checking that out, to be honest. I'm like, I'm putting it up on my tab right now. I'm going to put YouTube right there next to it. We're going. I'm really looking forward to it. And Michael, I appreciate it. We're at the hour mark now. I appreciate you coming on. I had a hell of a good time. I'm glad we got this done. And I appreciate you even reaching out to me before we go. You say whatever you gotta say, plug whatever you gotta say. The floor is it's all
All
yours.
right. I just want everybody to go out and watch Teddy Told Me To, along with Las Vegas Frankenstein and The After Dark. These movies are fun. We're happy to be making them. Hopefully, we'll be making more of them. And, tell your friends, tell your family. Like I said, let's get the word out about Teddy and, make it a cult classic.
So I haven't shut up since I watched it, to be honest. I've been posting about it. I've been talking about talking to you, so that's been really cool. It's been cool to get feedback from people I've referred to as well, and have this conversation. Hopefully we'll have more with others and get this thing out.
All right. That sounds great. Thank you so much for having me on, and I appreciate it.
Of course, Michael, thank you for coming out and enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.